Hi, Dave Taylor coming to you again in our continuing series about business and financial tips. Last session we talked about different items you want to have on your income statement to run your business better. Now we're going to talk about individual departments, because when you grow bigger, each individual department is going to have its own P&L. Now, in essence, what two types of businesses do we run? Installation and service, right? Now, in your business, you may have HVAC, you may have electrical, and you may have plumbing. This is going to apply to each one of those. But basically, in our HVAC business, we have installation and service. And they're both very different businesses. You know it costs more to put a service truck on the road with inventory, mileage, maybe more training for your service tech, all those good things. It costs a lot more to put him on the road. And you really should have a separate income statement for that, because you will price things differently. Now, our installation business, I can break that down further. Basically, we have residential and commercial, right? But I can break it down a little bit further. I could have a new construction, and that could be my focus. Or I could have replacement, or I could have both. Commercial, again, I could have new construction and replacement. And I can break this down even further. For new construction, I could have multifamily, or I could have design build, and so forth and so on. I could break this down into many departments as I want. But in essence, when you're just starting out, you're going to have one income statement, one department. If you're $300,000 to $400,000 in sales, don't bother breaking them out. It'll be too much work for you. But as you grow, you're going to need to break it down into different departments, because they each are going to give you different overheads and net profit goals. Now, the other type of business we're in is the service, right? And again, just like before, you have residential and commercial. But maybe with residential, you have the planned maintenance. The other type of service, residential, is repair. That's where you either use flat rate or time and material. On the commercial side of things, you could also have planned maintenance, and you could also have repair service. Now, I always get the question is, when do I start breaking this out? Well, rule of thumb is that you really need a separate department. When you reach this one individual department, gets to be about 10% of your sales. So if you have a service department that's running $1 million, and your planned maintenance gets to be $100,000, you ought to start tracking these things separately. Have a separate department. Even on installs, I could even have a separate department if you sell filters and parts to homeowners who come into your showroom. So you could have a separate department for that. Like I said, in truth, you could have as many departments as you want, but each department you set up takes different tracking methods. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit further session. After I talk about this, the next question the contractors say is, well, how do I put these in different places? Well, that's where it gets back to a chart of accounts. Now, in the business management primer, which we talked about earlier, there is a good chart of accounts developed by AHR. So look in the business management primer and get an idea and set up these accounts in your bookkeeping system. Whether your accountant does it or whether your bookkeeper does it in QuickBooks or whatever you use, you have to have different buckets to put these things in. Okay, now I've got different buckets. Where do I get the stuff to put these in? Well, all your different builders. You can collect those invoices, because the top thing in the income statement is sales. You can get all the different invoices you send to builders, right? And put that here. Replacement. All the different invoices you give to customers. You can put those here. So you got to start collecting these as the year goes by. And the same thing for commercial and replacement. Now the second question comes up is cost of goods. Okay? Cost of goods sold. Your equipment and your labor. Well, what a lot of customers do is that they break out their POs to the vendor and call it NC123 or R123. So whenever you get an invoice from TEC, if it has NC on it, you know that's a cost of goods for residential. Or if it has R on it, or RR for residential replacement, you know that's a cost of goods for residential replacement. And you can put it in this right bucket that you set up. As far as labor, well, that starts with your time tickets. Now, in the business management primer, there is an example of time tickets that has this, that actually carry your work with Reynolds and Reynolds to set up. But you don't have to have this, you can make your own. But on that time ticket, it has, what is that service tech doing? Is he doing residential new construction? Is he doing replacement? Is he doing commercial new construction? Is he doing replacement? Is he traveling? Does he have unapplied time? He has to mark that down. That's just one other thing he can do. But that's where you actually have the origins of what you break things down into. Now, overhead is a little different. Overhead, you break things down as far as the percentage of labor that we're talking about. So this is the true way of departmentalizing your business. From how you break out sales, to how you break out equipment, to how you break out labor, to how you break out your overhead. When you do all this, you can see individual which businesses are making profit and which is not. You also have different margins for each of these different businesses, because you know that residential new construction is a totally different business. It's a low margin business versus replacement. You could make 20% on residential new construction for your gross margin, and you probably should be targeting 45 to 50% on replacement. They're totally different businesses. So that's how you would gather stuff and how you would put them into the different departments. That, in a nutshell, is departmentalization. I encourage you to go to the Business Management Primer to look at that chart of accounts, and also go to the Business Management Primer to see what numbers are good for overhead, for margins, for the different type of segment that you're in.